Hey y'all, this is basically an update on, you know, the other video with the Castoroil, me inducing myself for Castoroil. This is basically an update about that. Um, so yeah, so basically, and I have this mask on because I tested positive for COVID. I didn't even know that. I haven't got no symptoms or anything, but it is what it is, But okay, so I took. Remember what did I take on camera? I think I took two on camera. Yeah, I took two on camera, and then off camera I took one more. So all in total on May 30th, I took three tablespoons of castor oil, and okay, so I took 3 tablespoons of castor oil, and sorry, I was looking over there at the screen. I took 3 tablespoons, and I took another one. I took two at first, but the contractions, I wasn't getting contractions about 5 hours later. So I'm like, let me just chunk down another one. So I did one more. Yeah, I did one more. And what I did was, let me tell y'all the tea. Someone had told me that I was telling them that I was going to do castor oil at 37 weeks. Someone was telling me that I shouldn't drink it. They were saying I should put it up my vajayjay. So, what I heard was back in the day, they used to use castor oil for abortion. So everybody know if you put castor oil up you when you're like 7, 8 weeks, the baby is not developed. Everybody know that they're not developed, so they come out and you have contractions and they come out and they pass away, and that's basically the abortion because the baby wasn't developed enough to be alive. You get what I'm trying to say? So with that being said, I feel like that was a good idea to me because if I'm 37 weeks, I'm developed, my baby's developed, he's fully, like not fully because I think to be full term is 38 weeks, but I was 37 weeks, so that's enough time. So he's developed enough, you know. So he was 37. So I was 37 weeks, and I took 3 tablespoons. And May 30th. Well, it's actually May 31st because it went to the next day. May 31st, I slid some of my vajayjay, but I didn't slide a lot. So nothing happened. Next one, I was having well, something did happen. I was having contractions. They sent me home. I got sent home on May 31st. I went maybe 4 o'clock that afternoon, since I've been having contractions that whole night. No, not that whole night. I started like 7 a.m. or whatever, and then it started getting worse and worse, but it wasn't bad as how it was on the first. So they sent me home. I was only dilated 1.5. Mind you, this is May 31st. I was only dilated at 1.5. Yes, I was only dilated 1.5. So they sent me home. They're like, come back when you feel like the contractions is getting stronger and stronger. So I'm like, I was so irked. I'm like, whatever, or whatever the case is. So I I go home, and what I do now is I got the bottle of castor oil because I was over it, because I wasn't contracting how I wanted to, and I like open up my vajayjay, Cause you know castor oil is really natural. Like it can't give you like a yeast infection or anything like that. Like it's a very natural oil. So I opened up my vajayjay and I poured some in there. Instead of the first time I did it on May 30th, I only took some and I put it up. But this time I opened it up. I laid it back and I opened it up and I poured some. Ooh, can I tell y'all, 4 hours later, contractions 2 minutes apart. Two minutes apart. And it started turning to 1 minute or whatever. So about 5 o'clock in the morning on June 1st, which is today, I called the ambulance or whatever. I couldn't drive there. Contractions was so bad. I couldn't drive there. And no Uber was out at this time. No Ubers was driving or whatever the case is. They were saying no Ubers in your area. So I called that damn ambulance. I called the ambulance and contractions was getting worse and worse because I'm in a truck now. So like bumping in, it's bumpy roads. So they're getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So we get to the hospital about 20 minutes later. They get me in a room. They see I'm really hurting. Like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. She checked my cervix. I'm 8 centimeters. Yes, I'm 8 centimeters. I went from 1.5 centimeters on May 31st. I got discharged at 5 o'clock May 31st. And then I did the Castoroil or whatever May 31st that night. Like to put it in my vajayjay. I didn't drink it this time. The only thing I did that on the 31st was put it in my vajayjay. So this was like a 2-day process because I started this May 30th. I drank it first. I drank it 3 tablespoons and I put a little bit up me. And then on May 31st, that night after they sent me home, that's when I poured some in my vajayjay. So I did that. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my baby. But I did that. That put me in labor. People say drink it. No. You don't even got to do that. When you're drinking it, that's making you poop. You want to put it up you so it can slide out. So the baby can slide out. That's what you do. I didn't believe that lady. It was the lady that told me to do it was a retired nurse. So she obviously knew what she was talking about. I'm like, that sounds crazy. Like, what? It worked. Seriously. It worked. You open up your cervix. Put some in there. You want to have that baby? Do those steps. So that happened. And I had my baby June 1st at 5:27 p.m. The next day, he's over there. He's so precious. They have him in a isolation, like it's like a box, not a box, but you know what I'm saying, like one of those or whatever. He's perfectly fine. It has like holes so he can get air and stuff. So he's perfectly fine. He's doing good. He came out 6 pounds and 13 ounces. So he's close to 7 pounds at 37 weeks. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. He's breathing good. His temperature was low and so was his sugars. But all we did was fed him a bottle and his sugars was perfect. It rolled it rise sky high, not sky high, but it it rise enough to the point that the doctors felt so comfortable with his sugars. So that's just my story on how I did a different method with castor oil other than usual people, but it works. Trust me. I have my baby. He's healthy. He's actually asleep right now. Yeah, he's asleep right now. We come up soon to feed him soon. But I can't really have him in my hands because I'm positive for COVID, and that's an unfortunate thing. I didn't even know. I didn't have any symptoms at all. I'm really sad, but I'm just praying that my sons don't get it or whatever the case is. And he looks pretty healthy to me. He is very healthy. I love him, and would I try this method if I have any more kids in the future? Yes, I will. And that's basically my story, a little story on my castor oil experience.